Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Augustus the Animator, as you can see. And in this tutorial we'll be going over how to create this custom text intro animation. So we'll have, it's kind of like a tumbling pass of the letter A coming on as the animation goes forward, and using lots of nulls null objects to create the motion and have it look physically accurate. So let's get started. Alright, we are in a blank composition, 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second, standard, do whatever you want to do. I am going to start out by just typing Augustus the Animator. Oops. Oh gosh. Animator. Make this all smaller. And, oops, don't want to squish that. Left align. Let's make this smaller. Make this bigger. And I'm not going to think too hard about this. All the graphic designers out there might be wondering what the hell I'm doing, and that's okay. But we're just going to do sort of like even make a box with the text, and I'm not going to think any harder about it. Okay. So we have that as just our, actually let's center this, as kind of our template that we're working off of. That's where things will end up at the end. So now let's just duplicate this, delete everything except for the A because that's going to be driving this animation, and why don't we turn that off for now. Okay. So we are starting with this left stem, I'll call it. I know there's an actual name for that. And then we're going to have this part come out and then the bridge. So what I'm going to do is simply select this, hit G for the pen tool, and we are going to start to mask off and have just this part show. Let's see, we'll do that. You kind of just do the best you can with this. We could recreate it, but that seems like more work, and this will at least be accurate because it is in fact like it's from the actual letter, so I know that I'm going to be 100% accurate with this shape. Can move in this point a little bit. Excuse me. Come on now. Oh, okay. I have this ring around it, or everything selected, so just double click again. Shift click to get rid of that, click it again. Okay. There, I feel better about that. Okay. So now we have that part of the A. And our anchor point is way over here. That's not good. Hit the Y key to be able to adjust that, and we are going to put it right at this lower left corner. Right here. And that's important. Anchor points are going to be very important through this whole thing. Okay. Now, why don't we just rotate this guy so it's straight up-ish. Looks pretty straight. And then we are going to do an alpha or a mask. So we'll just create a box like that. Seems tall enough. And we'll do, let's see, we'll call this A left because it's the left part of the letter A. And then do a alpha inverted so that when it's down here, let's see. So when it's over that area, it won't be showing. Let's make a position keyframe 10 frames in, because we're going to start down here, and that's kind of the position I want. So let's do, oops, gosh, select the whole thing, or just the mask, my goodness. Bring it down below the mask, excellent. Boom, look at that, we're halfway there. Not really. What I should have done right away, even though it'll be just fine without it, is to do a line as a guide for my ground, or sort of where I want things to bounce. Yeah, okay. So that way I know, because I'm just working on black space right now, and I could get lost pretty easily. So now we have a guide for the rest of the animation. Let's see, and this is going to be, we'll call this the entrance alpha, because that's all that's being used for, and we can actually chop it off by hitting Alt right bracket just to keep our space nice and clean. And this will just be our guide ground. Okay. So I'm actually going to rotate this a little more so it's a little straighter up. We've got it coming out of the ground. Let's go forward by hitting Shift Command right arrow, 10 frames. I'm going to copy and paste this because I want the position that it's at right now for later, because I want this key to overshoot the ground, because I'm not just going to have it go up and stay. I want it to shoot up and bounce. So it's going to overshoot. Let's go forward 10 more. Have it go up a little bit, 10 more, and we'll copy and paste that keyframe where it's on the ground. Excellent. I'm just using 10 as kind of a starting point. Everything needs adjusting, I'm sure, but it's a really good amount of time to be able to at least see like what you're doing, as you can see there. So I might, that's probably okay. All right, so we have it coming out, we have the bounce, at least roughly, and from here we are going to have it tilt, because if something's like sitting on this little point, it's going to tilt to the right because of physics. So let's make a rotation keyframe. Let's go forward 20 keyframes, because this will need to gain a little momentum as it starts to tip over. So let's tip it, and actually it'll probably be right at 0, which makes sense that it's going to be flush with the ground, but since nothing's supporting it over here yet, it's going to continue to tip. But it can't tip from this point, because if we keep going, it's just going to cut into the ground, and that's not how the world works. So we need to do a new null object. I'm going to make it green to have it stand out in my timeline from the text. And let's move this over here. And we are going to place this anchor point of the null on the very bottom right corner, because that is going to be the new pivot point. Because if this continues to slide, or excuse me, to tilt over, it's going to be from this spot. Let's cut off this layer with Alt left bracket, and we are going to parent the left part of the A to this null. And then let's bring down the rotation with the R key, make a keyframe. Let's go forward, we'll just say 10, and have it rotate until it's about flush with the ground. And you can just kind of estimate. Okay, so now, as we see, it's going to tilt to the right, and when it gets there, it's not going to go through the ground, it's going to tilt from that point, and then go to the ground. Because physics. Okay, so now, let's see, the way that I've done this is the right part of the A, like the other one of these, is going to kind of spring out from behind this and kind of launch it into the air, which means this whole thing is going to pivot from this point now, because it's going to kind of continue this roll for just like a tiny bit. So let's make another null. Let's see, I'm going to click this layer so that when I make the null, it's going to appear just above this layer in the timeline. Shorten that to where I need it to come in. Let's make this bad boy green. And we'll move him to that corner, because that's where this is going to spring from. Let's see, and then we will parent this null to that null. So we are starting a chain here, and it's important to keep it organized. If you do, it's pretty simple, but when things get out of whack, it can become confusing. So this is going to both rotate and move. Let's hit P for position, Shift R to bring down that other property. We will create keyframes at that point for both of them. Let's just go forward 10 and move this up like this. We'll rotate it like that. And now we need the other part of this A. So let's duplicate this, the left portion of the A. He's been duplicated. And let's see, I'm actually going to go back to, if I go to this moment in time, the A will look normal to me, so it'll be easier to manipulate. And let's see, why don't we hit M for mask, just get rid of this mask. I'm going to hide the left part of the A for now. Grab the pen tool and just do the same thing I did with the left part. And just isolate the right sort of stem of the A. Okay. So we'll adjust this a little. It really doesn't look too bad. Yes, it does. We'll bring these in a little bit. Excellent. Okay, let's turn A left on again. So now both of these pieces are moving with it, but we're going to hide this guy until the exact moment that he needs to appear. Okay. And actually, let's see. So this is the moment that he's going to appear, because this is right before he's going to spring up. So let's do, I hit U to bring up all of my keyframes. I'm going to get rid of all of those and then just do start fresh with these keyframes here. And actually I'm going to Alt left bracket to cut off that, because that's where we just needed to start. And then hit the Y key and move our anchor point to, let's see, we probably want it to come from, I think we want the anchor point right here, because since it is going to be flush with the ground, that's going to be kind of like the driving force. It might work from here too. To be honest, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to waste time thinking about it. We can always adjust. Okay, so I'm going to go forward 10 frames to match up with this keyframe, and let's see. He's parented. Okay. Make a keyframe for this rotation, because that is the end. That's the eventual rotation that we want. And then go back to this keyframe and adjust this bad boy. Oops. Let's see, we'll move him in to basically match up with the other side. And then obviously, as you can see, there is some stuff like sticking out, both here and here. Since it is so quick, I just don't think the eye is going to see it. For the viewer is not going to notice it, and that is fine. It's versus like those details that if it's no one's going to notice it, it's a few pixels in one frame. Don't worry about it. You can always go back, clean things up, but for this, it's just really not necessary. Okay, so I'm going to sort of adjust some things. I'm going to rotate this null a lot more because I want this to have sprung a little bit more. Let's see. Excellent. We're going to adjust all these keyframes, but we have a motion. It jumps up, it bounces, it tilts, falls, boom. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to go forward 10 frames, just make another keyframe of exactly where it's at, also with the position, because I know that this is like a moment that we want it to rest and have a little bit of emphasis, and we will adjust that to be smooth later. So from here, we are going to go forward We'll say 20 frames, can always adjust. We're going to bring this bad boy down here because he's just fallen back down to the earth. We're going to rotate him, we'll say like this much. So we'll bring him up so that this point is what hits. And then guess what? We get to do another null because we now need a pivot point from here. And I don't think we have any pivot points from there right now. We do not. Okay. So I'm going to click this layer, make a new null object. We will trim him, alt left bracket, because that's where he's starting from. Oops. We'll make him green to be consistent. And we will move him right here. Great. And then the highest null in our chain, which is this one, we will parent to him so that null 6 is now in command. So let's bring down position with P, hit Shift R to bring down rotation also. Actually, we might just need rotation. Make a keyframe there. We'll go 10 frames forward, rotate him to be flush. Perfect. And let's see, I think we need another. There is a pivot point here from the original left stem of the A. Yeah, but if I rotate it, since this is at the bottom of the parenting chain, that's going to move, but none of the other nulls will. And that is not going to work for us. Which means we get to make yet another null. I know it seems like a lot, but every time you have a pivot point change, what am I doing? Layer, new, null. This is what you got to do because there's not another way that I know how to do it. I'm always, always, always open to learning about new ways to do things, but this, if you keep track of things, it doesn't get that complicated. Okay. Anyways, we now have this other null for this pivot point. We are going to parent this to the new null, the previous null to the new null, and then we're going to rotate him. And let's see, I believe I did it so that it looks like it could maybe tip either way. Like maybe it's going to tip this way, maybe that way. Who knows? So maybe a little less. Oh shit, I need to not do that. Okay, so we're going to make a rotation keyframe right here. Go forward 10 frames. And then rotate him up to an angle that looks like he could either fall forwards or backwards. We'll say maybe that looks like, somewhat believable that it could tip in either direction. And I may actually select this keyframe, Shift Alt right arrow to bring it forward 20 frames because it's going to pause here for a second. And then we are going to rename this a right because it's the right stem, and then we're going to duplicate him. Just kidding. Oop. Oh, maybe it wasn't. Duplicate him. Let's see, he moved up because I still have alpha invert on and I don't need that. Okay, so this we're going to trim right away so it's distinguishable from this, and we're going to call this the bridge. Is that the real name? I don't know. I'm not concerned with that. Okay, and then let's see. We just need to now isolate the bridge of the A. So I think what might be fastest is to select these and go like this. And then shift click him to isolate him. Move this down to here. Move this down to right about there. These are probably okay. So let's delete this, delete this, delete this, and then delete those. So now if I just click the visually isolate button, I don't know what that's actually called, solo. Make this guy go solo. we can see that it looks pretty good minus that little bit hanging on there. Just try that. Unclick solo so you can see everything else. Oop. And as you can see, that actually doesn't work super well. Because we need it to look like a complete A. We can't have any gaps there. So let's do this. And we'll see how it works and adjust if we need. But I think it's going to be just fine. Okay. So for this, let's see. This is going to flip out from right here, like as though it was hiding here, and then just pivot it down. So what we're first going to do is hit U, get rid of these keyframes, and then make some new ones as like a fresh start. We'll hit the Y key to adjust the anchor point, and I'm going to put it right here, because that's where I want it to pivot from. Could probably go here too, but I'm going to go with this. So let's go forward 20 frames. I'm going to keyframe the rotation because this is where I want it to end up. Go back to this one. Rotate him inwards. Oops. To right about there. Let's see, he is sticking out a little. So I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit. Go forward like 3 frames. Hit the position, go back to the original position keyframe, and just like move him in a little bit. So that way there's nothing showing that shouldn't be showing. Beautiful. And then from there, we need this just to tip to the right to finally land on his great journey to just stand up. And my goodness, which one do we use? Look at that. This guy is still at the top of the chain. And that's still the pivot point that we're going to go with. Because the momentum of this sort of thing sort of swinging down is going to kind of push it to the right in this animation. So let's make a rotation keyframe here. We'll go forward, we'll just do 20 again. Rotate him to the right. I'm holding down Command to be a little more precise with my adjustments. And that looks flush. Excellent. Let's hit Shift P to bring down the position property keyframe. And we are going to slide him to the right, or the left. We'll go, let's do 30 frames to the right. Slide him all the way back. Yeah. And then what I should actually do, scroll down to my original Augustus the Animator text. I am off, because that'll inform where I want this to end up. So let's put it here. From here, let's turn off Augustus the Animator, and with this bounce, I want it to happen simultaneously with the slide back to that position. But that's going to be difficult to do with this position keyframe here because it's going to be sliding and it's going to be hard to see. But I don't want to get rid of this because it's right where I want it, and so I just want that to stay. So I'm going to click this keyframe, do keyframe interpolation. Under temporal interpolation, instead of linear, let's do hold. And then it's going to hold this position until the next keyframe. So we will obviously get rid of that, but for now, since I want to just do some rotation keyframes here and not have it be sliding all over as I do that, that's a really handy tool to keep it from being visually messy and difficult to work with. So we have this. Let's go forward. We'll just say 10. Tilt this bad boy back up. Go forward 10 more. Tilt him back down to whatever this was. I'm just going to copy and paste it. 10 more. Let's do like that much. 10 more. Back down to 0. Okay. And for now, I'm going to select these bouncing keyframes. Select all of them, hold down Alt, and move them to align with this, with the position timing. Okay, let's click this. I'm just going to command click them, and that'll turn them into a normal keyframe. Excellent. Perfect. Okay. Not bad. There's really not too many keyframes happening, which is excellent. Now that we've laid out the skeleton of the animation, we have a lot of refining to do, which is really what's going to make this come alive. We need to, every time it goes up in the air and falls back down, we need to smooth them out. We need to make them easy ease. So let's select those two. I'm going to hit F9 to make them easy ease, make them smooth. That still needs a lot of work, but we're going to go with that for now. And then these, where they bounce, that's going to remain a regular keyframe because it's going to switch speeds so quickly. Okay, let's take a look at these in the graph really quickly. Actually, we'll have this guy join the Easy Ease Club. Okay, just click on one of your keyframes, hit the graph button. I'm going to full screen it, and then hit the double line icon right here, and that'll fit everything to your screen. And the better you can understand this, the better your animation is going to be. I know it can be a bit daunting at first, but the higher up a line is, the faster it's going to be. So when things are at this point, they're going slow because they're at zero speed, and that's when it peaks in the air. I wonder if this would be easier to look at if we did a value graph. You know what? No, we're not going to do that. So we're going to make this guy shoot up into the air, and then he's going to fall down. Oops. We're going to have, and then he's going to shoot up into the air again. That's happening at this point, and then he's done. And it's good to just go back and forth between, ooh, that didn't work, did it? It did a little bit though. It's good to just go back and forth between your keyframes, the graph editor, and what you're seeing, because that's just going to be the easiest way for you to understand and connect the two visually to understand like what is happening in this graph. This just needs to be, why are you keep doing that? Okay, I feel a little better about that. And then actually, let's click on rotation, hit the double line icon. We'll have this have a greater influence, which just means it's going to start to tip more slowly and then speed up. Okay. We could probably do even a little more. And then this actually looks okay. These are the two keyframes that control when it tips from this point, and the momentum is just going to kind of keep going, and so I think that is actually fine. What I may do, click on those, bring up the graph, have it be moving a little faster as it starts to get to the end. So the speed will be lower, and then just go up a little bit, so it looks like it's gaining at least a little bit of speed. Could probably push that more. Okay, click off my graph. And now, a little more complex stuff happening here. Let's see, the A right springs out. Let's have that happen quickly because it needs to drive this up there. So we will click the second rotation keyframe, make him easy ease, click on the graph. Have that have a lot of influence, which means it's going to happen really quickly at once and then settle into this position. Could be much faster. Okay, we've got to adjust that position as well. So let's actually do, we'll easy ease both of these keyframes, which is the position and rotation of the null that's making it launch into the air. Let's look at those guys. And if you have two different properties selected, they'll both show up. And this is actually really helpful because then you can select where both of them are and adjust their influence equally and at the same time. So I'm going to do 100 just to see what that's like because that matches the speed of the right stem kind of jumping out. There we go. That was probably like a little intense. What I might actually do, select the rotation and position of the null and of the right stem, slide them forward 10, and I'm going to cover up that other keyframe because I was just there to hold. Okay, that's a lot better. Because when it has such a strong influence, it's still going to move really quickly, but you'll just get more of that ease into the space. So what I think I need to do is move this a little bit more to the right. I may actually adjust the handles on this to have it be a little bit more of an arc. It's a really nice tool in After Effects. I'm going to slide this out. Well, am I going to slide this out? Does that screw everything up? Yes, yes it does. Let's look at these keyframes right here. Make them a little bigger. I'm going to have them have greater influence so that it holds a little bit longer. And what I'm actually going to do, hit the tilde key to make this full screen, hit this again, actually hit the single line because that'll zoom in a little bit more on the points that you have selected. And let's click them. Oop, I don't actually know what that did, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to bring them up so that they don't actually freeze in the air. They don't get to 0 speed, but they do get low on the speed. So it'll kind of glide through that spot without totally stopping. And you know what? That was too much. Let's do this again. Bring these down. There we go. It shouldn't be too much above 0, because otherwise it's gonna totally screw up like I just made it do. Very fun. Excellent. I just screwed all that up. Make sure you grab all of them. It can be a little tedious to work in the graph editor. Okay, let's see how that looks. That's a little nicer because you can tell that it doesn't totally stop, which I think is great. Okay. So now let's see. I definitely want this to, I think I'm actually going to reduce, let's see, reduce the time it takes to fall down right here, because that just feels so slow. Even if I adjust the keyframes, I think it's still going to feel like a little slow, and I want there to be a little speed at this point. So I'm going to move this over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames, move this and this over 5 frames as well to match up to align. And then, let's see. I might actually move these guys over 10, because I'm just not feeling this. So let's select these to match, move it over, let's just see how it looks. Okay, I feel a little better about that. Now when it tilts up to this point, it's going to lose momentum as it goes up, so it's going to ease into this point. F9 to make it ease. Hit this button. We'll try something like 88% for influence. There we go. And I actually would like this to, let's go forward 10 frames. Move this, oops, and move all of these forward 10 frames. Because I want this to hold on this spot for a little bit longer. To add a little bit of tension, because you don't know which way it's going to tip. So now we will adjust this rotation keyframe for when this bridge appears. We'll have it start slow because it's falling down and it's on a pivot. Just adjust this to to be a little more dramatic. Excellent. I'm going to shift these over 10 keyframes because that's just happening really slowly right now. It still feels really slow. Let's see what you can, what you can do. I'm going to pull this keyframe down, which means it's going to be moving faster when it gets to it, because I feel like it just is not moving quickly enough by the time this bridge is locked in place. Okay, let's move these over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it still just feels like it's happening really slow. I wonder if these all could be this. When the bridge comes down, it's still feeling slow to me. I'm just going to move it over a few frames. And then this is the position keyframe that's sliding it over. F9 to make him ease. Click this to make it so I can see things, and we'll crank that to 100 so it's fast. Let's see. I'm realizing now what I did differently than in my finished product was these keyframes here. So I want the A to come down, and then we'll have it still think for a little second, so it'll just slowly rotate down from here. So let's F9 this keyframe to make it easy ease. Where are you? You're right here. Crank him a little bit. There we go, because then it adds a little bit of delay and tension right before it moves really quickly, and that's a bit more of a surprise. Okay. Yeah, so now it leans right when it's at the peak, the A bridge comes out, then it starts to rotate very slowly, then goes. Okay. So let's grab these two keyframes because that's when this is rotated up and then up again, and that's what we'll want to be easy eased. That actually may just look okay. Let's just look at it before we adjust it. I feel okay with that, so I'm just not going to mess with it for now. Alright, heaven forbid my computer do a RAM preview of more than 5 seconds. And it just won't. Okay, but that's okay because we identified a place that needs some work, which is this falling part right here. So what I'm going to do is move, let's see, let's go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keyframes. Move these layers because they all happen kind of after this point. Move these because I feel like that falling down is just happening much too quickly. And these are still not really the way I want them to be. Okay. Because it is pausing too much in the air and then very quickly gaining momentum, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be sort of like a style that you're looking for, but it's looking a little too unrealistic for me. So I'm going to move that up a little so that it keeps that momentum. Man, let's see. Oh, what I need to do is stretch these guys out so that it's not going slow, then like fast, because that is currently what's happening. That feels a lot better. Okay. Let's look at this quickly. I think I want it to jump up from that spot a little more quickly than it is, so we can make this point start at a faster speed, clicking and holding shift, dragging up. That feels a little better. This gives it a little bit more energy. So then he goes down. What we're going to do, because I totally screwed up, not necessarily, but kind of, the placement of this, it if I'm going to use this A to reveal the rest of it, it could only reveal Augustus and not Tuss. So what we need to do is have this A end like over here. And the best way to do that, since everything is like connected with a null chain, let's just create another null layer, new, null. And this is just going to be our control all. But all we have to do, the one that's already at the top of the chain, the null that's at the top of the chain, parent him to this new one, where I'm going to make fuchsia because that's the easiest color to sort of stand out for me. And I'm not going to animate him. All I'm going to do is send him this way so that I can reveal this whole thing. And then all I have to do is adjust this last position keyframe right here, slide him over to match up with the A again. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so now we'll get rid of this again. Actually, will we? Let's turn him on. Grab a shape layer, have some fill to that. Gray is perfect. Let's do this. And actually, we'll just move him over right here. I think should be fine. And then at this point in time, and it's important that you do it at the correct moment in time, this, we will call this Augustus Animator Alpha. Let's position him above our text layer. Have this just to be a regular alpha mat so that nothing is appearing unless it's over it. And if we parent this, let's hit tilde, to our null that's controlling the position where it slides back, then it's going to slide with it, oh gosh, slide with it and also rotate with it, which I didn't anticipate, and reveal, which is great. But let's undo that, and if we do it here, at this moment in time is when we parent, everything is going to be screwed up because it's now already at an angle, so it moves down, and that's just not good. That's not what we want. So let's undo that. We are going to make him bigger, because that should fix the problem with the rotation. We'll go to the point right when we need it to begin. Let's actually chop these off for right here. And then tilde, parent him to that null. Ooh, okay, that doesn't totally work, does it? Because we still have the missing. What I'm going to do to fix this problem where the is not showing up, and the little problem where we can see two A's right here, I don't like that. Let's go to our original text. I'm going to just duplicate him and hide the duplicate. To fix the part with the A, let's just click him, click a shape layer, draw over him for a mask, and then be sure to leave out the A. So that way he won't be showing when he's bouncing right here. So that part is fixed. And then with this, let's turn him on again. Get rid of our alpha for right now. Let's hide Augustus on this part, so we'll just put a mask over this. Great. And that way that's much easier than creating a new text layer and trying to reposition. This way you know it's exactly where it should be, which is important. Let's see, let's duplicate this other alpha. Put him above the animator text. We can do the alpha mat again, but this time, so let's make a position keyframe right here, and then when it gets to the end, which will be right here at this point, let's slide him over a little more. And then we'll make this keyframe, we'll hit F9 to easy ease him, and do the same amount of influence to match that speed, which is 100. So then it may just, yeah, basically look exactly the way it should. Technically it's revealing slightly faster, but it ends on the same point and still looks clean. Alright, we've got ourselves a reveal. Let's add a couple, oops, keep doing this. Bring down our alpha to be directly above. Oh wait, oh, just kidding. We just need to move him because we moved our whole thing with that pink null. We're now going to add a couple accents to this to just accentuate the motion a little bit and help your eye sort of see what's going on. So let's make a shape, or excuse me, a line right here. Oops, ooh, no. We'll make it white for now. You can make that a little thicker. Excellent. We'll do accent 1. Great. Let's make this, we're just going to do trim paths, my best friend trim paths. And just have a little bit of like a little line happen right when he shoots out, and it kind of establishes the fact that like, oh, there might be ground there, or there's something. Let's do a keyframe for both start and end. Go forward, we'll just do 10. Let's see. End will be good. Start isn't good yet. Well, see, start will be at 100. This will be at 0, because they both start at 0, both end at 100. Let's shift over the start to the right, like, do 3 keyframes. Select both of these, F9, graph, make it easier to see, slide it over. Let's just do 67, seems like a good number. Wonderful. I might move these over to have it last on screen a little longer, have this be a greater difference between the two so that more of it's showing at one time. Great. And then let's duplicate this. Gosh, let's see. There's got to be a good way to mirror this. Let's just do scale, inverse the X property, and then move him over. Let's just quickly like, great, let's move them over a little more so they actually touch. Great. Man, that still is not good, is it? God, I bet you're all watching that and being like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. We gotta fix this keyframe, because it's just bugging me. That's why. Okay, so this is supposed to be the peak of our jump, but as you can see, he still goes up a little bit because After Effects, and I don't know why, sometimes likes to do this thing where keyframe interpolation. The spatial interpolation is under audio Bezier instead of linear. I'm not 100% sure what causes it to do that. It's something with the easy ease. But if we switch it to linear, that means that there's not going to be handles on that point. And so it'll still be smooth, but it's not going to overshoot it. There we go. God, that looks so much better. Great. Temporal can still be Bezier because that's what's going to do the smooth motion, but it's the spatial that can screw you up. Excellent. Okay, I feel so much better about that. Okay, let's get rid of our ground guide for a second. Okay. I may actually, let's see, oops, hit you. Let's cut these where they end. Let's duplicate them. Put this one up here. And let's see, right when it hits the ground again, let's have another one start. And move them both over so that it is right where that point is. Great. Okay. And then he's just gonna flippy dip on over. Gosh. And then okay. So then let's just do, because this is such a fast motion right here that it's gonna be difficult for the eye to follow. Let's just do a similar thing there. And then we're actually gonna move forward in time so I can see where this bad boy ends. Let's see if I can't just click on trim paths for this thing, or for this layer. Let's see, cut him to start where he begins. Paste the trim paths. It works, thank goodness. And we'll actually be sure to grab these, adjust their influence to be 100% because that's what the influence of that position keyframe is, so we want to match it. It's kind of nice. Let's duplicate it, move him up, move him over. And I think, even though I told you to match it, it may be a little too fast. So let's move the influence down a little bit for those. Excellent. Okay, that looks nice. And then after that, you can just choose all the colors you want to for any of these and make it look beautiful. So that about wraps it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial on some custom text animation. Just keep your nulls in order, keep track of those, just move along, create them chronologically as you need to in the timeline, and you should be just fine. Hopefully you can use this in some custom text animation or any sort of like tumbling object. And I hope you learned something, and have a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you!